Would you be interested in composing a soundtrack for a superhero movie, a big franchise from Marvel or DC or something related to that?
I don't have any taboos or prejudice, as I said, against anything, you know.
If you don't think there's hope for the world, why bother going on?
You haven't seen the world, so you don't know.
Gustavo,
Rafa.
I need to take a minute here. It's so good to be here talking to you. You're such an amazing artist. And what you did with the Last of Us soundtrack, it just gives me goosebumps. And for you, what makes this soundtrack so unique? Because this is something that all players say when we talk about the Last of Us. The soundtrack is vital for the gameplay experience, and it's also vital for the TV show. So for you, what is that thing that you think that makes this soundtrack so unique among the video game world?
It's hard for me to say. I will say that I'm known for doing music that not necessarily fits the sort of the most common ways from the way that I work, the instruments that I use, the instrumentation, and the way that I write. I mean, my writing is very emotional. I think which connects very good with a story. I'm also very minimalistic in a way. I don't use, you know, a huge orchestra. I mean, I've done scores like that, but in majority, it's not the case, and certainly not in The Last of Us. I think that there's a rawness, you know, and an immediacy about the music that connects with people, you know, has a human factor. I mean, you know, I tend to perhaps keep things that, for example, other players or other musicians won't keep. For example, I mean, if you ask any guitar player, you know, when they record a guitar, they try to make sure that there's any extra noises when they, you know, when you move your hand from one position to another position, lots of times, I mean, there's noises, you know, around, and in general, those noises, people take care of, avoid them and take them out if they're there, you know. I mean, I use those noises, and sometimes I even amplify those noises, you know. And I think those sometimes mistakes, quote unquote, you know, sometimes humanize a lot of the performance. And the fact that the person that writes the music is actually performing it also adds a tremendous quality. I mean, usually in a score, you have a composer that writes something and then, you know, puts the chart, and there's other musician that interpret, right? In this case, I mean, the same person that, you know, wrote or created the music, it's performing it. So I think that adds a different layer, emotional layer to the music that sometimes in other situations is not present. So I'm just trying to rationalize something that I don't think probably can be rationalized, but that could be part of it, you know.
I totally understand you, because I didn't play the game, but my brother was a huge fan of the game. He played the game, and I'm a huge fan of the TV show. And when I was studying your work before we could do this interview, I was like, experience your work, and I was like, man, this is something you have to feel. Like, it's something that when you are watching the show, you feel how the atmosphere changes with your soundtrack, and that is so powerful in such a unique way.
Thank you so much. It's what I liked. I mean, I although I like all kinds of music, and I like all kinds of approaches to scores, you know. I mean, I think the music is divided in two categories: good music and bad music. There's no genres or styles that I think they're bad, you know. But although, you know, I appreciate everything, I particularly like to venture into territories that actually have been not explored. That I like to feel that I can solve a situation musically or artistically in a way that will be unique and particular, and it's not going to be like, oh, this is like this, you know, or this fits into this, you know. So there is a search for that, you know, in what I do.
Would you be interested in composing a soundtrack for a superhero movie, a big franchise from Marvel or DC or something related to that?
I don't have any taboos or prejudice, as I said, against anything. You know, what I would probably look for if it was a superhero story, I would look for a story that has an emotional content, and that that for me that can connect with my sensibility and my aesthetic vision, you know. And if that happens, of course, I don't have any problem. But you know, whatever reason it is, for now, all the work that I've done, it's always been kind of on the fringe. You know, even, you know, Brokeback Mountain, or, you know, Babel, I mean, Iñárritu's movies, you know, or, you know, even the Motorcycle Diaries, all, you know, movies that actually they don't belong to the sort of the Hollywood establishment, you know, although I have won 2 Oscars, you know, but I don't have anything against that. You know, hopefully one day I'll do, you know, one of those movies too, you know, but it has to be the right movie for me, you know.
Yeah, I can imagine that. I would love to hear your soundtrack in any superhero movie, but I completely agree with you.
And I didn't thought about it, but now that you mention it, I think it would be a great idea. It has to be obviously probably a different type of hero, you know.